Welcome back to English Podcast course. Today, we'll practice fun English conversations for.
Whenever someone says it's a double-edged sword, I always picture an actual sword with two blades. But it's such a common phrase. What do you think makes it so appealing for people to use?
I get that image too. I think it's because it captures how something can be both helpful and harmful at the same time. There's something oddly satisfying about thinking of one thing having two totally opposite effects.
Yeah, it's got this built-in drama. Like, handle it right and you're set, but slip up and, ouch, instant regret. People love metaphors that pack a punch.
That punchiness definitely makes it stick. And honestly, the visual helps. I mean, who hasn't felt torn about a decision that could go either way?
Speaking of decisions, tech is the double-edged sword of our time, right? Think smartphones. They're both lifelines and time sinks.
Totally, my phone keeps me connected, but then there are those nights when I'm doom scrolling at 2 a.m. and suddenly regretting all my choices. It's wild how the same device can help or totally derail your day.
Yeah, and that FOMO hits hard too. I love catching up with friends online, but sometimes I just want to throw my phone in a lake and disappear for a week.
I hear you. The double-edged bit is real. One edge brings you closer. The other keeps you up at night, wondering if you're missing out. It's a balancing act, for sure.
That balancing act pops up everywhere. Even coffee is a double-edged sword for me. It wakes me up, but too much and I'm shaking like a leaf.
Oh, I'm with you. Coffee gets me through the morning, but by the third cup, I'm basically vibrating. It's funny how something that helps can flip on you that fast.
And yet, we keep coming back for more. The lure of that boost always overshadows the possible jitters, at least until it's too late.
It's almost like we make a deal with the double-edged sword, hoping today's the day we get all the good, none of the bad.
Funny you mentioned deals. Ambition feels like another classic double-edged sword. You push hard, you achieve, but stress and burnout are lurking in the shadows.
Absolutely. I've had times where chasing a goal just made everything else blur out. Like, yeah, I got what I wanted, but at what cost? It's tough to measure the line between healthy drive and self-sabotage.
There's something about chasing that next milestone that's addictive, even when you know you're tiptoeing along the blade's edge.
And everyone around you cheers you on, not seeing the sleepless nights or the skipped dinners behind the scenes. That's the hidden danger. Everyone thinks it's all glory, but it comes with its own risks.
So, here's what I'm wondering. Can we actually use the double-edged sword idea to our advantage? Like, is there a way to keep one edge sharp but blunt the other?
I think there's hope. Recognizing both sides is a start. If you know that coffee could turn on you, or ambition could burn you out, maybe you set limits ahead of time, like a self-imposed stop sign before you go overboard.
I like that, being honest about the risks, instead of pretending they're not there. Maybe the trick is learning to wield the sword without letting it slice us in the foot.
Exactly, and sometimes just talking about the double edges out loud takes away some of the sting. It's less about avoiding the sword, more about learning how to handle it safely.
So I got this message from a friend the other day, and no joke, I just stared at it for like an hour before responding. I finally just wrote, "I'll get back to you on that." You ever drop that line?
Oh, plenty of times. It's basically my default move when I have zero idea what to say in the moment, or when I'm secretly hoping they'll forget they even asked. It's like the international symbol for, I need to think or procrastinate.
Exactly. And somehow, it feels polite, but also a bit like a get-out-of-jail-free card. I mean, the pressure's off for a little while anyway.
Totally, and what cracks me up is how everyone pretends they'll actually circle back. But most of the time, it's like that message just vanishes into a black hole. Suddenly, you're hoping they never mention it again.
Now that you mention it, what do you think really makes us reach for that phrase? Is it pure indecision, or are we just dodging commitment?
Honestly, for me, it's usually both. Sometimes someone's asking for an opinion on something tricky, like, are you coming to my birthday or am I getting ghosted? And I just need time to sort out my life or my excuses.
Or maybe it's those work emails that demand way more mental energy than you have at the moment. You type, "I'll get back to you," but what you really mean is, "Let me run and hide from this task for as long as possible."
Exactly, and the best part is, you sound super professional while actually buying yourself time. It's the ultimate email power move.
Funny thing is, sometimes using "I'll get back to you" actually stresses me out even more. Like, now I have to remember to actually get back to them.
That's the trap, isn't it? Suddenly, you've created this mental to-do list. I once wrote it to 3 people in one day and spent the next week haunted by the thought, who am I supposed to be getting back to?
Oh, I've been there. And then you start avoiding your messages altogether, just in case someone's waiting for your response. The avoidance spiral is real.
What gets me is when people follow up, like, hey, just checking in. That's when I start sweating and frantically scrolling to remember what I even promised to answer.
Switching gears a bit, do you think there are moments when saying "I'll get back to you" is genuinely the best move?
Definitely. Sometimes you really need to check facts or ask someone else before you commit. Like, if a boss asks for availability and your calendar's a mess, stalling for clarity is better than giving a wrong answer.
True. And there's something admirable about refusing to blurt out the first thing that pops into your head. Taking a beat can save so much grief, especially with big decisions.
For sure, and people usually appreciate a thoughtful answer even if it comes after a short break. It can show you care, not just that you're stalling for time.
You know, all this talk about circling back makes me wonder, how often do you actually remember to follow up after saying you will?
Honestly, maybe half the time, if I'm lucky. Unless I put a reminder on my phone, it's like I've just tossed it into the Bermuda Triangle of my brain. Have you got any secret tricks for keeping track?
I wish. Sometimes I'll leave emails unread or flag messages. But then my inbox turns into a pile of guilt. Recently, I started jotting stuff in a notes app. But let's be real sometimes. The only real fix is doing it right away.
That's honestly the best advice. Just bite the bullet and reply. Otherwise, you risk turning "I'll get back to you" into "you'll never hear from me again."
Since we're wrapping up, I have to ask, should we just embrace "I'll get back to you" as part of modern life, or is there a better way?
Maybe a bit of both. I think transparency goes a long way. If you know you'll forget, just say, "I'm swamped, but I'll try." People usually appreciate honesty even if it's not perfect.
Totally agree. And hey, at the end of the day, at least we're not ghosting people completely. A little acknowledgement, even if delayed, beats total radio silence.
Agreed, and maybe next time we'll actually get back to them before they have to send that awkward follow-up.
You know, there are those times in life where something just knocks you sideways. Like you're rolling along and bam, your day takes a hard left turn.
Oh, absolutely. And what gets me is how even the most ordinary days can suddenly flip upside down. Like, I once spilled coffee on my shirt right before a big meeting, and the domino effect from that small mess? Wild.
It's like our brains are wired to expect routine, and then real life says, "Think again." I've definitely had my share of plot twists too, sometimes hilarious, sometimes just plain confusing.
Yeah, I mean, the classic "I didn't see that coming" moment isn't just for movies. It's like an unwritten universal law. Just when you think you've figured it all out, surprise, there's a new twist.
That reminds me, the way people react to surprises says so much about them. Some freeze up, others laugh it off. Personally, I go through all 5 stages of grief in about 60 seconds.
I get what you mean. There's that split second of denial, then suddenly you're bargaining with the universe. Last month, my travel plans got canceled last minute, and I swear I started negotiating with the weather app on my phone.
Oh, the weather app guilt trip. Been there. My favorite is when I pretend I'm totally unbothered, but internally I'm recalculating my entire schedule for the week.
I feel like adapting on the fly is an underrated skill. Sometimes it's almost like improv, just rolling with whatever weird script life hands you.
It's funny though, not all surprises are disasters. Some end up being the highlight of your week. Like when a friend drops by unannounced or you stumble on an old playlist you forgot about.
Exactly. Some of my favorite memories are totally unplanned. Once, I got invited to a last-minute dinner, and it ended up turning a crummy day into something hilarious and unforgettable.
There's a weird thrill in not knowing what's around the corner. Even if it's something small, the unexpected can shake you out of autopilot.
That's the part I love, those unscripted moments that make life feel less like a checklist and more like an adventure, even if they sometimes leave you a little frazzled.
Oddly enough, after too many surprises, I find myself craving a little predictability. There's something soothing about knowing what comes next.
Totally get that. I think routines are like a safety net, especially after a week full of curveballs. There's comfort in the familiar, even if we sometimes complain it's boring.
Maybe it's all about balance. Too much chaos and we're stressed. Too much routine and we're snoozing. I guess the real magic's in the mix.
Couldn't agree more. Like, I'll take a surprise slice of cake over a surprise plumbing emergency any day, but a little unpredictability now and then keeps life interesting.
So how do you handle it when you get blindsided by something? I try to remind myself to just breathe and see where things go, even if my inner control freak is protesting.
Honestly, I used to panic, but now I try to treat surprises like plot twists in a story, sometimes annoying, sometimes hilarious, but always a chance for a new chapter.
I like that perspective. Maybe the best stories in life start with, "I didn't see that coming." Makes the ride a little more exciting, right?
Absolutely. And who knows, maybe the next unexpected thing will be your best story yet. I say, bring on the surprises, within reason.
So, you know when you're on the fence about doing something new and someone just tosses out, "It's worth a try"? Why does that phrase make it suddenly seem less risky, do you think?
It always feels like a soft green light, doesn't it? Like, hey, no one's promising it'll work, but what do you have to lose? I think it lowers the stakes and gives us permission to experiment.
Exactly. It's almost like a free pass to fail, or at least not worry so much about the outcome. I mean, I've even caught myself using it as an excuse to eat questionable leftovers.
Oh, the classic fridge roulette. I've gambled with leftover pizza one too many times. But it's funny sometimes that phrase is just the nudge we need. Like the tiniest spark of courage on a Monday morning.
Thinking about that, I wonder if saying "it's worth a try" is really just our way of convincing ourselves to get moving, even if we're unsure.
That rings true for me. There's this little voice whispering, "Why not?" And suddenly the pressure melts a bit. Honestly, I feel like it's a mental trick to make risk feel more like an adventure.
I love that, turning risk into adventure. It's almost like reframing a scary roller coaster as something thrilling instead of terrifying. Do you ever feel like you need a bigger push, though?
All the time. Sometimes even worth a try doesn't cut it. I need a full pep talk, or at least someone bribing me with coffee. But there are days when that one phrase is just enough to get me going.
But let's be real, there are definitely times when trying something new totally flops. Ever had a worth a try moment turn into a disaster?
Oh, have I? Last month, I tried baking sourdough after watching exactly one video. Let's just say my bread could have doubled as a doorstop. It was catastrophic.
That actually reminds me of my attempt to cut my own hair during lockdown. The results were memorable. But hey, I learned what not to do.
There's something oddly comforting about those flops, though. At least you can laugh, and sometimes you even stumble on a better way by accident. It's like failing forward, you know?
Isn't it wild how those little experiments can end up teaching us something bigger? Even if the sourdough is a fail or the haircut's a mess, it still counts as progress.
Absolutely, sometimes the tiny risks are where the best stories come from. If nothing else, you get a funny anecdote for the next group chat. Plus, you learn more about yourself along the way.
That's so true. I feel like every time I try something out of my comfort zone, even if it bombs, I gain this mini boost of confidence. Like, survive that, what's next?
And sometimes the thing you almost didn't try ends up being a new favorite. My accidental hobby is indoor rock climbing, all because a friend said, "Come on, it's worth a try."
So how do you decide if something really is worth a try? I mean, not everything can be fixed with a shrug and a laugh.
That's where gut instinct kicks in for me. If the potential loss is just a bruised ego, I'm usually in. If we're talking major consequences, I pause. It's sort of a vibe check on risk versus reward.
I like that a vibe check. Sometimes all it takes is asking, what's the worst that can happen? And if the answer is just a little embarrassment or a story to tell, maybe it's worth rolling the dice.
Exactly. And honestly, life gets a lot more interesting when you say yes to those small opportunities. Who knows? Your next favorite thing might be hiding behind the next worth a try.
You know, people love to say, that sounds like a plan. But half the time, I wonder if there's any plan at all. It's almost like a social default. When folks run out of things to say,
Totally, it's the verbal equivalent of a thumbs up emoji. Sometimes I say it just to move things along, even if the plan is as flimsy as grabbing coffee next month without a date in mind.
ha, and then both people walk away thinking they've agreed on something concrete, when all they've done is postpone making an actual decision. It's almost like kicking the can down the road, but with a smile.
Exactly, and it's weirdly comforting too. It makes everyone feel productive, even though nothing's been scheduled. It's basically the grown-up way of saying, we'll see.
What do you think is behind that? I mean, why are we so quick to lean on placeholders instead of just nailing things down?
I think it's partly because commitment is scary. The moment you pick a date or a place, you're suddenly accountable. It's way less risky to just toss out a vague agreement and keep your options open.
That does make sense. Plus, I feel like people want to be polite. They don't want to shut the door on plans completely, but they're not totally sold either.
Exactly. It's like saying, I'm open, but only in theory. My friend and I have been planning to go hiking for 3 years now. All we've got is a pile of sounds like a plan texts.
That's hilarious and also kind of tragic. I guess these phrases help us avoid awkwardness, too. No one wants to be the person who says, actually, I'm never going to that pottery class with you.
Right. It's so much easier to let things drift with niceties than to have that honest, nah, not interested conversation. There's a kind of social safety in ambiguity, even though nothing ever happens because of it.
It's almost like an unspoken contract. I'll pretend to be on board. You pretend to believe me. And we both escape any confrontation.
But then, when someone actually follows up, it's like being caught off guard at a surprise party. Suddenly you have to scramble for an excuse, or gasp commit for real.
I've started challenging myself to follow up. When someone drops, that sounds like a plan. Like I'll say, cool, how about this Friday at 6? And watch their reaction.
Bold move! I tried something similar and you could practically see the panic in their eyes. Sometimes they recover with a real answer, but a lot of the time I get ghosted.
So true. It's almost like a test if they stick around. You know they actually want to hang out. If not, well, at least you're not stuck in the endless loop of vague planning.
Exactly, and it filters out the non-committal folks pretty fast. I kind of love the directness. It's freeing, honestly.
So, what's your secret to making real plans stick? Is there a magic phrase that beats, that sounds like a plan every time?
Funny enough, I found that just being annoyingly specific works. Like, instead of, let's get lunch, I say, let's get tacos Wednesday at noon. People respond way better to actual details.
That totally tracks. I've noticed when you give people something concrete, they're more likely to check their calendar instead of just nodding along.
Exactly, and if they can't make it, they'll at least counter-offer. Suddenly, you're having a real conversation instead of trading empty promises. Everybody wins except maybe the phrase, that sounds like a plan.
You know that phrase, that's easier said than done? I swear, it pops up every time I promise myself I'll go to the gym before sunrise. Suddenly, my pillow becomes a magnet, and my motivation just vanishes.
Totally relatable. I told myself I'd quit sugar last Monday. 3 hours later, I was knee-deep in a tub of ice cream. It's wild how saying something out loud feels so simple, but actually doing it? That's the real challenge.
Exactly. It's almost like our brains think making a plan is the same as following through. Meanwhile, reality's just waiting to trip us up.
Honestly, sometimes making the plan feels so satisfying, I forget there's still work ahead. Like, I'll set 12 alarms and still snooze them all. Talk about self-sabotage.
That makes me wonder, why does our brain trick us like this? Why does saying we're going to do something give us that little rush, even if we never actually do it?
Great question. Turns out there's actual science behind it. Our brains release dopamine when we plan, almost like we're getting rewarded just for setting the intention.
No wonder my to-do lists are so long. I must be addicted to that planning high. But man, crossing things off is a whole different story.
Exactly. The hard part is sticking with it when the novelty wears off. It's like starting a puzzle. You're pumped for the first 5 pieces, but by the end you're just searching for missing corners and wondering why you started.
Speaking of puzzles, have you ever had a plan totally fall apart despite your best intentions? Because I've got a graveyard of unused gym memberships.
Oh, absolutely. Last year I bought a fancy blender and swore I'd make green smoothies every morning. 2 weeks later, it became a glorified paperweight. That blender's been mocking me ever since.
I relate way too much. I signed up for an online course and never got past the intro video. At this point, I should just frame my unused enrollment as modern art.
The unused subscription gallery. We could make a fortune. But honestly, it shows how common this is. We're all stumbling through it.
So, is there any hope? Can we actually bridge the gap between what we say and what we do, or are we all doomed to be dreamers with abandoned projects?
There's definitely hope, but it takes some trickery. I read that breaking tasks into tiny steps helps, like, instead of get fit, just aim to put on your sneakers. Sometimes, starting tiny tricks your brain into rolling forward.
That's clever. I guess it's less intimidating to do one push-up than to imagine running a marathon. Maybe we're all just overestimating our willpower.
For sure. Plus, telling someone about your goal can keep you honest. Nothing motivates like the fear of being called out at brunch.
You know, maybe we shouldn't beat ourselves up for falling short. After all, everyone's wrestling with easier said than done. Maybe celebrating those tiny victories is the way to go.
Absolutely, like giving yourself a mini high five for making your bed or actually checking one thing off your list. The little wins add up, and honestly, they're what keep me going when big plans stall.
I like that approach. Maybe I can finally retire my guilt over that blender. Here's to tiny steps and realistic expectations.
Cheers to that, and to the hope that someday we'll use that gym membership for something other than a towel rack.
Thanks you and see you next time.